Howdy everyone, I'm Kazi, and Judd and I have some updates as we're finishing up the first week of Dragonflight, and we're seeing our first wave of tuning come through. Before we jump into tuning, we were able to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark, which was our goal for the year, so a huge thank you to everyone who helped out with that. In addition to covering tuning and the shifting tank meta over the next few weeks, we've also started putting out quick guides to all of the Season 1 Mythic Plus dungeons. We're shooting for around 5-minute videos for each of these, and we cover all the important stops, interrupts, and boss abilities so that as the difficulty of these dungeons scales up in the next weeks, you can get ahead of the pain points. If that's something you think you'd be interested in, there should be a link up on the screen now. So, hopping into the upcoming changes, I want to start with the last thing that Blizzard wrote in their post. We're finalizing additional tuning, and we will continue to keep an eye on class balance over the next week, as we have additional adjustments planned for the week of December 13th. So don't get too comfortable on whatever spec you're playing. We're going to see changes for at least one more week and probably several weeks. The first change, which will affect all tanks, is that all tank threat is being increased by about 15%. This reflects Blizzard's ongoing attempt to reduce the bar to entry for tanks by making grabbing initial aggro a bit easier. And all the devastation evokers rejoiced.
Demon Hunters received 2 small nerfs this week. Far of the Flame no longer scales with haste. It's unclear how much this will reduce the proc rate, but unless it's a significant amount, this talent should still be taken. The 20% damage increase that it provides is still very strong. Blizzard also nerfed the hunt damage by another 10%. This looks like more of a raid talent than one that you would use in dungeons, but it's still a slight nerf to their single target damage. Even with the small nerfs, and we continue to say this, Vengeance still looks to be a top tank this season.
Warriors received some tuning to both halves of their choice node between Brutal Vitality and Fueled by Violence. Fueled by Violence will now heal for 85% of the damage from deep wounds, up from 65%. Brutal Vitality will now contribute 15% of your damage to Ignore Pain, down from 30%. This talent still will not create a new Ignore Pain, but it synergizes very well with the Warrior 2 piece, which contributes 5% of damage to Ignore Pain and will create a new Ignore Pain if one is not active. On paper, Brutal Vitality was, and still is, the stronger choice of the two nodes. However, Brutal Vitality still has the largest outstanding bug in the Warrior kit. When you use an Ignore Pain and then do damage, Brutal Vitality will work as it's supposed to, filling up the Ignore Pain. However, once you fully fill the Ignore Pain one time, Brutal Vitality will not start contributing to that Ignore Pain again, even after you've taken damage. Brutal Vitality won't work again until your Ignore Pain has completely fallen off. Until this bug is fixed, I'd recommend running Fueled by Violence. Warrior remains in a fantastic place heading to the start of Season 1. We already mentioned it in our tier list video, but at the start of the week, Paladin received a significant buff to their Word of Glory, as well as a duration buff to their Dusk and Dawn, and a slight nerf to its effectiveness. Now with the reset on Tuesday, Paladins are receiving 2 additional small buffs to their survivability. Paladin's passive, Aegis of Light, now grants 50% increased stamina, up from 45%, and 30% increased armor, up from 15%. This amounts to about a 3% overall stamina increase and a 3% damage reduction to physical damage. We still haven't had a chance to test any of these buffs overall in Mythic Plus, but they are pretty much exactly the buffs Paladins were wanting. They should leave Paladins in a strong place going into Week 1 of Season 1.
Monk received a small boost to their stamina gain from Brewmaster's Balance, which is just their passive HP buff. The extra health should be useful against sustained magic damage, which is their well-known weakness. This buff has a slight negative effect on Gift of the Ox. Healing spheres spawn once you take 100% of your HP and damage. More HP means you'll see less healing orbs. Healing Elixir also gains a little bit of strength with this buff, as it's a percent HP based heal. I don't think this change is big enough to actually change your build for Mythic Plus, but it's probably worth trying out this week as we clear Mythic Zeros.
That's going to do it for all the changes this week. Druid and Death Knight both went untouched, and that's good news for both of them. Judd and I have all 6 tanks leveled and ready to go, and we're excited for the start of Week 1 of Season 1 of Dragonflight on December 13th. We'll see you in the next one.